Why can't I just do the thing? I've asked myself this question 1,000 times. Staring at the task. Knowing exactly what needs to happen. Feeling the weight of it. And then, not doing it. Scrolling instead. Cleaning instead. Doing literally anything else instead. I used to think I was lazy. Undisciplined. Broken somehow. Turns out I was wrong about all of it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The project sits there. The deadline looms. You have the skills. You have the time. You have everything you need. And you don't start. Instead, you reorganize your desk. Check email for the 15th time. Suddenly remember you need to research that thing that has nothing to do with anything. Hours pass. Days sometimes. The task gets heavier. The shame compounds. You finally do it in a panic at the last possible moment. Then you swear you'll never do this again. Until next time. Sound familiar? Here is what changed everything for me. A psychologist named Tim Procrastination has spent decades studying procrastination at Carleton University. He runs something called the Procrastination Research Group. And his conclusion flipped my entire understanding. Procrastination is not a time management problem. It is an emotion regulation problem. Read that again. When you procrastinate, you are not failing to manage your schedule. You are failing to manage your feelings. The task triggers something uncomfortable. Anxiety. Boredom. Frustration. Self-doubt. Fear of failure. And your brain does what brains do. It runs from the threat. Another researcher named Piers Steele went even deeper. He created what he calls the procrastination equation. It looks like this. Motivation equals expectancy times value divided by impulsiveness times delay. Sounds academic. But watch what it actually means. Expectancy is whether you believe you can succeed. Low confidence equals low motivation. Value is how rewarding the outcome feels. Boring task equals low motivation. Impulsiveness is how easily you get distracted. High impulsiveness equals low motivation. Delay is how far away the reward is. Distant deadline equals low motivation. Here is the brutal part. When a task is boring, you doubt yourself, the reward is far away, and something more interesting is one click away, your motivation mathematically crashes to near zero. This is not a character flaw. It is physics. Motivational physics. Now this is not just theory. The brain science backs it up. When you face an aversive task, your amygdala activates. This is the threat detection center of your brain. The same system that kept your ancestors alive when predators approached. Your amygdala does not know the difference between a lion and a looming deadline. It just knows something feels dangerous. And it screams one thing. Escape. This is what researchers call an amygdala hijack. Your rational brain, the prefrontal cortex, gets overridden. The planning and decision-making center goes offline. And your limbic system takes the wheel. The result? You flee to something safe. Social media. YouTube. The refrigerator. Anything that provides immediate relief. Here is where it gets wild. Studies show that chronic procrastinators actually have a larger amygdala. Their threat detection system is hyperactive. They are not lazy. They are hypersensitive to discomfort. The very thing that makes them avoid tasks is the same thing that makes them feel terrible about avoiding tasks. It is a loop. And it tightens with every cycle. Here is the part that rewired my brain. Procrastination is not you being weak. It is your nervous system trying to protect you. The task feels threatening. Maybe you might fail. Maybe you might be judged. Maybe you might discover you are not as capable as you hoped. These are legitimate fears. Your brain is doing its job. The problem is not the protection instinct. The problem is that the protection is outdated. You are not in danger. But your amygdala does not know that. So the question shifts. It is not, why am I so lazy? That question leads nowhere except shame. And shame makes procrastination worse. The real question is, what is my brain trying to protect me from? Once you identify the emotion underneath, you can work with it instead of against it. Procrastination found something interesting about how to break the loop. You cannot suppress or deny the negative emotions. That does not work. The feelings come back stronger. But you can become aware of them without judgment. Mindfulness research shows that when people practice non-judgmental awareness, their amygdala actually shrinks over time. The connections between the threat center and the rational brain change. The hijack becomes less automatic. This is not about forcing yourself to feel better. It is about noticing what you feel without making it mean something about who you are. I notice I feel anxious about this task. That is different from, I am anxious so I cannot do this. The first is observation. The second is identity. A psychologist named Peter Gallwitzer discovered something powerful about bridging the gap between intention and action. He calls it implementation intentions. Or if-then planning. Instead of saying, I will work on the project tomorrow, you say, if it is 9 a.m. and I am at my desk, then I will open the project file and work for 10 minutes. Sounds simple. Almost too simple. But the research is staggering. A meta-analysis of 94 studies with over 8,000 participants found that implementation intentions have a medium to large effect on goal attainment. Here is why it works. When you form an if-then plan, you are essentially pre-programming your brain. You are creating an automatic link between a situation and an action. When the situation occurs, your brain already knows what to do. It does not have to decide. It does not have to fight the amygdala in the moment. You outsource the decision to your past self. The version of you that was calm and rational. So what do you do with all this? First, stop calling yourself lazy. That label is wrong and it makes things worse. You are not lacking discipline. Your brain is trying to protect you from perceived threat. Second, identify the emotion. What do you actually feel when you think about the task? Anxiety? Boredom? Fear of judgment? Name it. Writing it down helps. Third, shrink the task. The bigger the task feels, the more threatening it becomes. Ask yourself what the smallest possible next step is. Not the whole project. Just one thing. Fourth, use if-then planning. Decide exactly when and where you will do the small step. Make the decision now so your future self does not have to. Fifth, practice self-compassion. Research shows that self-criticism increases procrastination while self-forgiveness reduces it. Being harsh with yourself is not motivation. It is fuel for the shame cycle. Here is what I wish someone had told me years ago. Procrastination is information. It is your nervous system sending a signal. Something about this task feels unsafe. Maybe you are afraid of failure. Maybe success feels threatening in ways you have not examined. Maybe the task connects to deeper beliefs about your worth or capability. The task is not the problem. The task is the mirror. And the question is not, why can't I just do the thing? The question is, what would it take for my nervous system to believe this is safe? Because once it does, action becomes easy. Motivation stops being something you have to manufacture. It becomes something that flows. That is the real hack. Not forcing yourself through resistance. Understanding what the resistance is actually about. And then, one small step at a time, teaching your brain that the thing it fears is not actually a threat.